Check, check, check. Working. Very good. So, welcome all of you. A lot of data scientists, people who can kill you with AI, knowledge of all of that. In their presence is a person who perhaps uses data, generates data, but has no idea about the kind of depth of information and expertise that you possess. So first of all, I must thank Samir, wherever he is. And I'll tell you why I want to thank him. I have this. A person who puts a thought into your head is a teacher. A person who puts a thought into your head is a teacher. A person who takes money from you and puts it into their pocket is a businessman. Your pocket, take it, put it in there. That's a businessman. A person who can do both is my wife. She can put a thought into my head and take money and put it into her pocket. A person who can do neither, which is put a thought into your head or money, I can't do that. So that qualifies me as a moderator. So that's the reason why I want to thank Samir. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to give you a lot of important information, and all my panelists will do that. What I will do is, I will give you a lot of useless information. This useless information you will remember for a long, long time. That's my guarantee to you. Starting with, more heartaches happen on Mondays than on Fridays. More heart attacks happen on Mondays than Fridays. And so, we are very grateful to Samir for having organized this on a Friday. I also want to read out something which is about 2 paragraphs long. I was sitting out there thinking if I should do this, then I said, chuck it. I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to ask you a question. How many of you are interested in stories? Raise your hand. Shameless people here. You come into such conferences and you want to listen to stories, but here goes. Once there was a potter. And what a potter does in the morning, he gets up, gets his clay, he gets it all kneaded up, and he's ready. He's going to make a hookah. Now, a hookah is very useful because it would sell for a good price. And he starts to prepare a hookah. At that time, his wife comes along and says, why are you making a hookah? Why didn't you make a pot? He says, why should I make a pot? He says, you should make a pot because a pot will hold water, a pot will be cool in summer, and people will really respect you because you're making a pot. He says, okay, I'll make a pot. So then he starts to take that hookahs, put them aside, and again starts preparing a pot. At which point in time, there is a voice which says, hey, hello, stop. So he looks around and finds that nobody is around, and he says, who is speaking? So he says, it is I, the mud. The mud is speaking to him. The clay is speaking to him. He says, yeah, tell me. He says, why have you changed? Why have you changed from making a hookah into making a pot? So this potter says, hey, what do? My wife came along and she gave me an idea. And that idea changed the shape that I'm going to give to you. And at that point in time, the clay says, an idea changed your mind. For me, an idea changed my life. An idea changed my life. I'm sure as you sit through the next 25 minutes plus of this particular presentation, which is in the nature of a nice, easy conversation, there would be ideas. And hopefully, one of them is something that you will really look up to. In all fairness, I must also confess that when I was asked to prepare a list of questions as a moderator, I used generative AI. So I kid you not, I got all these questions. But that's not all. I mean, you've got to make sure that these are questions which are relevant. So I sent it off to all the panelists, and of course I did a little bit of research. So the questions that I have are more, perhaps, questions that you may have on your mind. So, Khatare Kodaverdi, I'm going to call you KK, please. So, my first question to you is, how can generative AI be leveraged by business to enhance the product development and innovation processes? Go ahead.
First of all, hello everyone. So great to be here, and thanks for hosting the panel. I would say there are definitely different ways that different businesses can use generative AI, and some of them are definitely super exciting. I think one, and the most obvious one to everyone, is automating tedious work. I think all of us heard about the use of the chatbot to automate the customer service experience. The second one that is becoming very handy is like basically product development optimization, and especially design optimization. Or for marketers, actually optimization of the creative, because historically it would have taken months if you wanted to design different creatives and take it to the market, versus right now it would become super easy. The third part, I would say all of us have heard about personalization probably for a very long time, but I would say generative AI will potentially unlock the true value of personalization, that the experience I will see versus you will see versus each one of us will see would be very different across the products that we have. And the other component is that I'm super excited about it is enhancing human creativity and productivity. I know there have been, some people are scared that, hey, what will happen to my work? But I generally believe that we will get more actually productive over time by using Gen AI, and there will be different type of roles and functions that will get created over years to come.
Thank you, KK. I did promise you I'll give you a lot of useless information, so here the first one that goes, women blink nearly twice as much as men. So please don't look at your neighbors, and don't look at Khatare either. So that's the one. This is going to Sourabh. So Sourabh, so there's one, which is Gen AI generally scares people, equated with job snatchers by dismissive people. How does one create an environment of fearless adoption? Any examples?
Right. So job loss fear. It's not something new to the human, especially the modern human history. It has been happening with mechanization, then came the computerization, and now the AI panic. So if we asked the same question 20 years back, the answer would have been different in a way that we would have thought initially with the robotics and AI, the labor-intensive physical jobs will get impacted, then some cognitive jobs, and then some highly cognitive jobs such as lawyers and programmers. And it will be difficult or rather impossible to impact or replace very creative jobs like arts and writing. But as of today, as we see it, the trend is reversed, right? So understanding how the nature of the jobs will change, whether it will create new jobs that do not exist today, is important. And for that, adoption and at the same time augmentation of the human ability will play important role. So there will be two major themes as I see it. One is the operational efficiency, and other is the customer intimacy in the industry aspect if we talk about. So imagine a world where every student will have his or her own tutor, every human having a coach or a mentor to work with, or even a therapist for that matter, right? On professional services, every lawyer, doctor, having a collaborator or partner to brainstorm certain ideas. And at the end of the day, it is helping us humans to make better decisions. So to say, like giving an airman suit to the Tony Stark, right? So maybe that's the way we are going towards. And already there are so many groundbreaking innovations happening, not even in the distant future. Like doctors are using it for diagnosing certain rare conditions. Now novel drug discovery is happening through it, right? Researchers are working with that. So to summarize, for the adoption and rather fearless adoption, important aspect is understanding how the impact will be and the advancements that are happening. Building trust, that is another important aspect. And finally, upskilling accordingly, that will help us in the long run and across the industry for sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sourabh. So, okay, another useless information. One, men hiccup more than women. Men hiccup more than women. Anyways, moving on. This is a question for Amitabha. So, this is over to you. How might the rise of generative AI technologies create new job opportunities, skill requirements for people in India? What do you think are the emerging roles in this field? Anything in the traditional industries?
Yeah, let me first provoke some thoughts, as Samir sets up in the morning. New roles, or we have defined these roles in a much more narrower manner today. What is the reality, right? Have we taken away the creativity from these roles? Let me take an example. Maintenance engineer in a plant. All of you would resonate. How much time the maintenance engineer spends today to comply to SOPs day in and day out? Is he not set out to look at the complete value chain from procurement to raw material quality to process innovation leading to that? So today, we have implemented for one of our businesses, private GPT to enable this maintenance engineer access solutions, next best action. And now this person, there are a bunch of such engineers who are now focusing on yield improvement experimentation. That's what they're set out to do. That's the creative angle to it. Think about our customer service professionals. If we can do analysis for them, and we're doing it for one of our sales professionals and the bunch of the team there, that we are providing what customers want from the sales call analysis, and now these set of professionals can have more value-adding conversations. Data scientists, data engineers, they're meant to be decision scientists. How do you make better decisions? Now, not for coding whole day. So thanks to Copilot, now they can spend time on doing meaningful stuff. Of course, they need some training there in terms of the basic business, basic finance, some data technology, and so on. I was reading in some news article that 2 million plus job losses in the US market and India. I have a different perspective. Demand loss for demand, is it finite or demand is infinite? For a country like ours, growing economy, I think the delivery, ability to deliver is the only limit, right? Now talking about customization, digital business models, downstreams, we are working with for our pulp and fiber business, we are working with our customer who are spinners, who make the yarn. Looking at their processes, their machines, we are able to recommend what's the fiber quality that's required for you. That's the customization. All is a creative job if you see there. Now, cognitive consumption. How can you satisfy your mental needs? Is there a limit? That's infinite. So today is a time, and probably we should all say that not only make in India, but imagine in India.
Imagine India.
I would say.
Absolutely. So good, very good. On to my very next question. So, no word in the English language rhymes with the word month. Rhymes with the word month. I know what's happening with you right now because all of you are thinking, what's a word that rhymes with month? Let me progress with the question to hand. So, the question for you, Shekhar, is, what are the key takeaways in which generative AI will impact your industry sector?
So there's no information that's useless. So thank you for those tidbits. So I'll break it down into the way we see it for the industry, but also us specifically. There's, based off of what we do, there's a lot of disruption and cannibalization from some of the work that we do, but there's also a lot of opportunity.
Shekhar,
right?
just a minute. You might want to just introduce your sector. Please.
Yep, yeah. So just as background, there's two parts to what we do, right? We do a lot of operations work for some of the large insurance, financial services, retail, media companies. So right from running customer service to back office operations. And as probably has been said ad nauseum today, customer service, operations, things that, as was just said, something that's become so, procedural, very SOP-driven, very systemic, is totally ripe for disruption, right? So for us, in some ways, that's a threat. But at the same time, it's not the first time that we are going through this. We've been through a few waves of stuff. I will definitely highlight, though, that this is real, and the impact is going to be big. So while that's the case, but the way we are looking at it is you can actually do more and provide more value, as opposed to focusing on like, okay, what used to take potentially 10 people is now going to take 8, 5, whatever it may be, right, over a period of time. Ultimately, that's just early on today there was something about why do we track that metric. The metric we need to track and focus on is how we are providing value, right? So ripe for disruption specifically for our industry. But the other half of what we do is also, and that's a little unique to us in this sector, is we are also the ones that are enabling our customers with data-led solutions, right? So right from providing a lot of the foundational data technology, delivering large-scale analytics, advanced analytics. So from that perspective, as you can imagine, this is huge opportunity for us.
True.
So we are somewhat different maybe from a few of the others in here, where on one end we have pressures in terms of disruption, but the other end there's an open-ended opportunity too.
Thank you, Shekhar. So Ganesh, as I come to you, I'm told that the cigarette lighter was invented before the match. So before a matchstick was invented, so next time we strike a match, we'll know that, hey, before this, there was a cigarette lighter.
Interesting.
So anyways, a question to you, Ganesh, because you have been an entrepreneur even when you were working on that. The kind of solutions you're looking at is more to do with what are the real heartaches that you had when you were part of a very large business that you created from ground up. So could you share a unique or particularly impactful example of how your startups use generative AI to derive value for a client? The big one, and this is something that I learned from you, is you will never know what people will choose, whether this is the color that they will choose, or whether this is the shirt that they would want, or the dress that they want. And many organizations which are in the apparel business or luxury business, they would really be waiting for you to answer. So this is the question to you.
Absolutely. Thanks. Just want to start with a question to the audience. How many of you in this room who have 100% market share of your business? Anybody? Anybody with 50% market share of your market? Just want to share some insights. There is no business, in fact, even the market leaders, most of the businesses have less than 10% market share. 10 is like superlative. Very few businesses who are aggregators who sit with 70% market share. Now, what does this mean? I just want to pick a few lines from Akhilesh's talk this morning. He said, AI is irrelevant if you don't have relevant data. If your market share is single digits and you're still a large player, how much data you have? You have the data as much as your market share. I think it's very, very important point to look at. When we talk about saying that we have data science, we do all of this, your data is actually, in fact, your data is so minuscule. It is contextual, very important, but most of intelligence is outside your organization. Now, this is one of the challenges that I've gone through. Just to give you some statistics, while we started with fashion, now we work across category agnostic. 1 out of 2 products made in the world in this industry do not sell well. For probability of success is 50%. $3 trillion business with 1.5 trillion going on wastage in some form. Now, why is it happening? Even a $50 billion brand is making a lot of errors. How do you enrich your intelligence? And intelligence is outside in. For we are basically an intelligence provider. In other words, I'm just asking all of you to look at how can you enrich data in a way that you enrich intelligence. Because you use any model, the model is as good as the data that you're feeding. Now, people might say, yeah, we can scrape data. Fantastic. It's very easy, trivial today. You can automatically scrape a lot of data. But when you scrape data, what do you get? You get demand or you get supply? How many of you believe you get demand or you get supply? For you get supply, and supply is incorrect, right? And it's different levels of error in different industries. For if you just scrape data and say that I have a lot of data, you're sitting with a lot of noise. For there is a very interesting problem to solve, which is collect all the information at internet scale and decode consumer demand without knowing demand. If that was possible, we have intelligence. Otherwise, we have data. So what we have built is, one of its kind demand sensing engine. This is just one way of solving this problem. For we can tell you what your consumers are looking for and what do they prefer the most. For dynamic changes in consumer tastes and preferences. Now, what do you do with it? You can use this to figure out what are the opportunities that I'm not capturing today. You could be selling tires, you could be selling spirit, you could be selling automotive parts, or you could be selling fashion. We can help you auto spot market opportunities on a dynamic basis. This is the kind of product market has high demand, you don't even have it, start doing. This is something that consumers prefer, you have less of it, do more of it. These are the things which are vanishing in the market, stop doing. For providing a holistic intelligence of consumers to help you take informed decisions. Now, the point I just want to try is that, when we talk about data, let's try and put consumer at the center, because we are all serving consumers. If you are B2B also, your customers or if you can put them and collect as much relevant data as possible, alternate data beyond just your existing data, enrich and put then the models, whether it is predictive models or generative models on top of it.
Excellent, excellent. So getting the customer out there in the front, trying to find out what those pain areas are and responding to that. And you've been on both sides of the fence, so you should be able to respond to that. I've got something in common with the ostrich as a bird. An ostrich's eye is bigger than its brain. So I got something in common with that ostrich bird. So KK, this is a question for you. And this is out of syllabus.
Okay,
this is
great.
So AI, can we use it for generative AI? Can I use it for music? Can I use it for arts? Can I use it much beyond what we are all speaking about? Is it possible?
Yeah, actually, it's a very relevant question. I would say if you asked me this question 6 months ago, I would say, I'm personally, I don't have a lot of taste in art. I don't have a lot of talent. And a couple of months ago, I wanted to buy different, actually, art, Warthol for my, living room. And I didn't like anything. I look around, I said, I don't like it. On my way, I'm visiting from San Francisco, our office here. On my way here, I started playing around with Midjourney. And for people who haven't, played with Midjourney, it's basically a Gen AI tool that you write a script and it creates art for you. And basically by spending a couple of hours, I'm not claiming the art I created, the artificial art are, A+ by any, but at least I created a couple of things that I like. So I would say one of the benefits of Gen AI is I really feel like some of us, we feel like, hey, we don't have talent in a specific vertical. You can start tapping into different things. And also for the artist community, I always say it's a very lonely community. It's very hard to collaborate with each other versus Gen AI and some of the AI capability will really open up collaborative art for different people as well. So absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. This piece of information is going to be very inspiring to many in this room, hopefully. Most adults spend more time in the toilet seat than they do exercising. So, okay, I'm just looking at the time, and I note that we've got no more than 5.5 minutes. So this is going to be a rapid fire. So take no more than 45 seconds for your response, and this is going to Sourabh. Sourabh, there's an open letter to Elon Musk and others to pause AI. Should there be regulations?
Interesting question. So, I come from financial background where there are a lot of regulations already in place, but still subprime mortgage crisis of 2008 happened, and more regulations were placed in. So there is a concept in regulatory economics called Baptist and bootleggers. So the story is in US in around 1900s, 1920s. The Church Baptist, considering the ill effects of alcohol, they started a movement to ban the alcohol, right? There was a movement called Carrie Nation who led that, or rather became a torchbearer for that movement. And also there were a group of activists who also helped in the cause, and finally alcohol was banned. So this is what we call the prohibition period now, right? But the initial goal of reducing the crimes or the abuse cases, it was found that crimes increased. And why? So the activists that were there, they were actually the bootleggers who made tremendous amount of money by illegally selling the alcohol. And the original goal was not serviced, right? So even now, there will be certain folks with the good intention, of course, who wants to regulate AI. There will be another group who, with certain terms and conditions applied, who wants to regulate, but in their own good interest, so that they can have the money, power, or the centralization. So the main thought here to say, and for all of us as analytics professional, in my opinion, is how we can control the release or the usage of Gen AI, whether through trials or audits, and even the open source movement that is unfolding now, how that will impact the overall landscape.
Thank you. Thank you. Women have more taste buds can see more colors than men. On that note, this is going to be really, really fast. Amitabh, two sentences. What are the challenges while implementing generative AI?
How do we bring in the contextual information from my company, maintaining the data security, privacy, compliance rules? How do we make sure that the embeddings happens properly for unstructured data, including images, tables, etc. The second one I would say is the business one. That's the reliability issue. Max, everybody talks about it, but the point is, how do you know that it's not hallucinating? And we do have some ways that we can leverage generative AI to even bring back the original information it got from. So can you use Gen AI to validate its own answer? That's the kind of way we are trying to address that. And there are, again, hundreds of issues. We have, our team is here. We call it warriors.
Got it.
Right?
Got it.
Catch them.
Got it. Excellent. Just picking on from what you said, Gen AI has to be used. So I'm told that the dragonfly has got 6 legs, but cannot walk. So obviously it's got to do something else with it. So this one is going to you, Ganesh. We heard very recently that $1 billion is going to be spent by Wipro Corporation on training its people on. Do you think that's a good investment?
Yeah, I think I strongly believe in human potential. The only thing is, where should humans spend their time on, right? In my view, I think it's always been all technologies used for automation, improving automation and accuracy of anything that you want to do. I want to add that now creation has come into because of Gen AI, right? For its creation, automation, and accuracy. Creation, you can use technologies to improve automation. Just to give you perspective, we have improved over 30x the time taken to tag unstructured data using Gen AI. Right. Now the point here is to say whatever we are already doing, can we do it much faster, better?
Got it. Okay. Very quick one. So this is going to be to you, Shekhar, but before I get there. The most common adjective used in English is good. That was good. So Shekhar, So this one is a very, very easy one. A lot of business want to use AI. What are 2 areas that you think that can be most impacted by Gen AI positively?
The good parts.
The good part.
So 2 areas that can be impacted by Gen AI. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a cliched answer, but in the interest of time. So it's productivity, needless to say, but also I think we're still really figuring out what we can do here, right? There's a lot of conversation around, hey, what's the impact, all of it. But if you really peel the layers back, anybody here, at least not me, right? I have a brain smaller than my eyes, much, much smaller than my eye retina too. But it's going to be too difficult to predict what's going to happen 5 years from now. But overhauling productivity is still the biggest theme.
The biggest one.
Right? And one food for thought is, I think, in the interest of saying something provocative, just imagine with Gen AI going and creating content out on the internet, how much of a noise problem do we already have, and what's going to happen? That's a self-regulation thing we need to go figure out too. So,
I can see a board which says time's up. But do we have time for maybe a couple of questions from the audience? After the break. So all questions, please, directed to all these wise men and women here. And on that note, thank you all. You've been a lovely audience. I learned a lot this morning. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.